America's supply chain under attack. Thieves brazenly breaking into a truck. A hooded criminal loading stolen items through a hole in a warehouse door. Flash mobs hitting trains. Driving away with this deli truck with the employee hanging on. Surveillance cameras capturing thieves inside a loading dock. It's grand theft cargo.
CHP search warrant, open the door.
Merchandise ending up in black market stores where stolen goods are sold after being hijacked on their way to distribution centers and retailers.
Please, search warrants open the door!
Police searching for more stolen items on another day, trying to make a dent in the cargo theft boom. Organized criminal groups target high-value, in-demand, well-known brands. Here, suspects swipe $500,000 worth of Meta's Ray-Ban glasses and Oculus headsets from this Texas warehouse. Nike shoes are another favorite target. More than $300,000 worth of its Air Jordans found in this truck after being swiped from a train in California. The U.S. supply chain under siege. Cargo theft surging to new records. Criminal networks here and abroad are exploiting technology meant to improve supply chain efficiency and using it to steal truckloads at a time.
This needs to be taken seriously at the national level and regarded as one of many national security threats we're facing right now.
A crime that costs retailers over $1 billion a year and ultimately hurts consumers. Armed with doctored invoices and an army of fraudsters ready to pick up the phone and impersonate the staff of legitimate companies, according to law enforcement.
My name is Courtney Reagan. I'm a reporter from CNBC. I'm recording this call. I want to ask you about an invoice with your name on it.
Yes.
What are you looking to do?
I want to.
How serious is cargo theft right now?
It's at an all-time high. We've never seen it this bad since we've been tracking data since 2009.
Keith Lewis is vice president at Veris CargoNet, which tracks theft trends in the industry. In 2024, the company had 3,798 reported incidents, representing a 26% increase from 2023. Total reported losses topped nearly $455 million, but industry experts say that number is low because so many cases are underreported, and they estimate losses are closer to $1 billion or more a year. Separately, train cargo thefts alone have shot up about 40% last year, with more than 65,000 reported incidents, according to the Association of American Railroads. And a more sophisticated form of cargo theft, called strategic theft, is on the rise. Law enforcement defines it as when thieves use deceptive tactics to trick shippers, brokers, and carriers to hand over loads or payment instead of to the legitimate parties. Strategic theft represented 8% of all cargo theft in 2020, but by the end of 2024, it rose to almost 1/3.
What are the biggest contributing factors to that?
Low risk and a very high reward. The return on investment is almost 100%. And if there's no risk of getting caught, why not do it better and do it faster?
And speed is paramount.
The problem is we're moving freight at the speed of light. If we slow the supply chain down, that leaves the freight on the dock, adds cost, and I got to get the freight off my dock.
Why is it so easy to commit fraud in cargo theft online?
Think of identity theft. Think of a friend that's had their identity stolen or their credit card stolen. There's no difference. There's no breadcrumb trail to follow. It's a ghost.
Often, a theft is triggered when an employee clicks on a phishing email link, inadvertently allowing criminals to access corporate data like account lists or shipping details.
What countries could they be in?
Well, we've tracked them to 32 different countries.
Jerry Jacobs oversees risk management at Prosponsive Logistics in Atlanta, known as a broker, which connects shippers with the carriers that move their goods.
There's no deterrent for these bad guys. They literally have a license to steal. When you're hiding out in a foreign country and all you need is a cell phone and a computer to conduct this type of fraud.
Think of brokers like matchmakers, connecting shipping companies and the companies that carry the loads. The shipper pays the broker takes a fee, then pays the carrier.
How often do you see instances of theft?
Every day we're seeing the bad guys trying to infiltrate our network, and our sales reps have to constantly stay vigilant. I say this all the time to my sales folks that there's probably a 33% chance that you're going to be talking to a bad guy that's looking to steal freight.
It's property, it's not hurting anyone. So if I'm an American consumer and I see this, why should I be concerned about a rise in cargo theft?
My insurance rates go up. I have to pay more at the grocery store, at the checkout line, because these bad guys want to come in and steal freight.
As we were wrapping up the interview, Jacobs got word that cyber thieves were attacking his company.
Is this happening right now, what you're talking about?
Yes, this is happening right
So
now as we speak.
You guys are out there trying to figure this out.
Right now as we speak. We have an impersonator that's going around trying to impersonate our company. And they're trying to get trucking companies, unsuspecting trucking companies, to believe that they are one of our employees, to then bid on a shipment, take that shipment, and then move it to where the bad guys want it moved to.
We head to Jacobs' office to capture the fraud in real time.
A lot of these shipments are coming out of Amazon facilities. So they're trying to get folks to think that these are all legitimate shipments that we're posting. And right now we're dealing with a ton of calls about this. A lot of them, unfortunately, picked up the shipment already for the bad guys and have already delivered it for the bad guys.
How long was this up and active before someone notified you?
This was only active and up for about an hour or two today.
And shipments have already been picked up?
Already picked up.
But the cargo itself is now compromised if it's been picked up?
And it's been compromised. So it's picked up at a legitimate facility by a legitimate trucker that doesn't know that they're moving it to a location that's already been set up by the bad guys.
So this is so complicated because you have a bad guy calling the shots, but then you've got good guys, legitimate players in the supply chain that are participating in this unknowingly.
Unknowingly, correct.
Weeks later, Jacobs is still dealing with the fallout. He says some of the loads were delivered, but not others, suggesting cargo and payment were stolen in this scheme. None of the carriers were paid, and he says some have even demanded payment from his company, even though it's a victim too. While strategic theft like this has skyrocketed, traditional heists still dominate the cargo theft landscape. Barry Conlon, founder and CEO of Overhaul, a supply chain security company, says the crime groups know how the industry works.
They've done their research. They have people who are literally pulling the information off websites, scraping it in some cases. And then they're attacking at a chosen location once they see the product they want. And it's literally gone into the supply chain within days. Law enforcement's budgets are stretched. And that's why this is, like, if you're a bank robber and you're going into a bank in Texas, if you're lucky, you're getting maybe 10 grand because of cash limits, and that's probably got an exploding die pack in it. And, not just the cops are armed, but so are the people you're standing beside in the queue. So it's a very risky environment, and criminals know that, and they might get away with 10 grand. But rob $1 million load, that's going to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars in return, and there's literally no risk.
Cargo theft, which is almost always nonviolent, is considered a property crime. And according to industry experts, it's also underreported.
In a lot of cases, they don't report it because they feel they're not going to get it back. It's been weeks since they lost it, and they've just found out about it. There's all kinds of reasons why people don't report it. They don't want the bad publicity, and they don't want to tell somebody there's a shortage of what they're selling in a specific area.
Scott Cornell, the national transportation leader for Travelers, a major insurance company, is concerned at what he's seeing. We interviewed him after the Chamber of Commerce's Cargo Theft Summit.
I think two things that I always point out about the organized cargo theft rings that are committing these crimes. They're really good at two things. They know what to steal and when to steal it, and they're really good at return on investment. And as we sit here today, food and beverage remains the #1 targeted commodity.
Why food and beverage?
It's consumable, so the evidence disappears. It's hard to chase. If you're a cargo theft investigator and you're trying to do a recovery investigation, the evidence is going to be consumed, right? Or it's going to spoil. There's no barcode on a pistachio.
Case in point, these 4 refrigerated trucks in Philadelphia were hit by cargo theft last year. Thieves made off with a payload of crab, tuna, and beef. Also, last year in Texas, police say they pulled over an 18-wheeler containing more than 34,000 stolen avocados. Household goods are number 2, then electronics. Travelers loans out its Sting vehicle equipped with hidden cameras to law enforcement in an effort to catch thieves in the act.
When a theft occurs and there is an insurance policy in place, how does it work? Who books that loss? Whose insurance policy steps in that case?
It's really going to be no different than if you have a homeowner's loss or anything like that. It's going to depend on who your insurance company is, what your policy is, what services they have around that.
But losses, or cargo theft in general, isn't something retailers are eager to talk about. Even those like Meta, which had no comment, and Nike, which did not respond to repeated requests for comment.
We reached out to a number of large retailers and consumer product companies to talk about cargo theft, but no one would agree to an on-camera interview. So we came to Las Vegas to the annual Manifest Supply Chain Conference to see who would talk to us.
Booth after booth showcased companies marketing their solutions to protect the supply chain. Birger Bushing is head of the supply chain for personal health consumer business at Philips.
2-3 years ago, I didn't have to worry about this, but we do see an uptick in any kind of commercial shipments, bigger value shipments that are going out to our customers, so traditional retail customers.
Why do you think there is an uptick in cargo theft?
It's definitely an organized crime. It's usually high value loads. For us, we are in the consumer electronics space, so for us you think of brands like Sonicare toothbrushes, Norelco shavers, so they're high value products.
The first incident of strategic theft, he says, began around 2.5 to 3 years ago.
So we're sometimes brokering out loads, and it was a fictitious carrier that picked up the load and disappeared with the load. And that's, I think, how it all started. Even though since then we had more incidents, and there are various reasons how cargo theft occurs or how our cargo is being hijacked.
And when that happens, do you, Philips, bear the cost of that, or is the cost of that replacement and of the loss shared among the supply chain?
We usually bear the liabilities, but we have insurance for something like this. Now, we write off these loads, but we have insurance, and it's becoming increasingly a topic to even insure more, especially the high-value loads.
The industry's average loss per shipment was $203,000 last year, according to Veris CargoNet. Ellen Kapoloff is Vice President of Operations for North and Central America at Lacoste.
What's your experience with cargo theft?
So cargo theft happens everywhere. It doesn't matter who you are. Prices are high, and everyone's feeling it.
If I'm a consumer at home, why should I care about cargo theft?
That's going to impact supply and demand. And so every retailer makes X amount of units, and every retailer has X amount of those units slated for a specific channel. So if you're a consumer and you wanted this shirt and we only made 100 of them and 50 of them were stolen, we are strategically going to place the other 50 in a different location as well as a different channel. So it might not be available to you at a store or online when you want it.
Coincidentally, just 10 days after that interview, California Highway Patrol's cargo theft interdiction program served a search warrant at a Los Angeles store in the city's fashion district. The team also does undercover work and asked us to hide their identities. We were there when officers went inside, locating 5 boxes containing Lacoste Slides footwear, part of a large cargo heist. The state seeing more cargo theft than any other in the U.S. is California. On another day in Southern California, we're there as the cargo theft team prepares to make arrests and enter a location selling stolen items.
Back in May, Lululemon reached out to us. They had a burglary that happened at their distribution center in Ontario. Multiple suspects went into the location, stole well over $1 million worth of Lululemon product.
Police pull up at an apartment complex and arrest who they say is the main suspect.
Next, we are going to go to the storefront. He has a storefront location. We have a search warrant for that also, so we will serve the warrant there. If we do find product from our victim, stolen product, we will go ahead and seize that also today.
The next stop, a makeshift store selling Lululemon merchandise and other items police say are stolen.
CHP search warrant. Open the door.
Inside, it looks like a retail store, except the racks are stocked with stolen Lululemon and other apparel. Police say the suspect advertised the store on social media, and you could make an appointment to go there and shop. Outside, officers load up all the seized evidence.
The product was supposed to go to stores, it never made it, and it's being sold online.
Lululemon told us retail crime, including cargo theft, is a serious industry-wide challenge, and we are taking decisive action to combat it. In this specific case, our collaborative investigation led to arrests and the recovery of stolen products. But the fight against cargo theft is never ending, as we saw again and again with law enforcement searching for stolen cargo. As thousands gathered at the Manifest Supply Chain Conference in Las Vegas, we ran into the booth for DAT, the online platform most brokers and shippers use to move cargo. It's the same one that Jerry Jacobs at Prosponsive Logistics showed us, where the fraud was happening in real time. The company reported the incident to DAT, which worked with them to address it. Jeff Hopper is DAT's Chief Marketing Officer.
90% of all of the fraud that takes place in this industry on our load board or any other place is identity theft.
90%?
Yes, it's almost purely that.
Hopper shows us how the system works.
This is our load board. So this is where carriers and brokers go to either find a load or a truck. This happens to be the broker view where they're searching for trucks.
Okay.
Click search for a truck. This example would be, I have a load that I need to take from Denver, Colorado, and my destination is Dallas, Texas.
To combat strategic theft, the company employs a dedicated group which spots attempted illegal activity about a dozen times a day.
We have a whole team of people that's all they do all day long. 25 people all day long is chase these things down and remove those people that we know to be bad actors.
Ann says DAT is routinely implementing stricter sign-up and login protocols.
Our biggest investment that we're making is to fight that battle and to put the protections in place for our customers so that they don't have to worry about that.
Targeting criminals before they disrupt the supply chain is core business for Dallas-based Texas security company called Highway. Jordan Graft is CEO.
Why do you think fraud is increasing more so now than in the past?
It's like a virus. So whenever industry or segment becomes infected, it spreads. They talk about it, that other people know, like these aren't just single individual actors deciding to wake up one day and say, I'm gonna go target freight brokers in the US. They're working in groups, in cohorts.
Highway itself also regularly targeted by criminal groups trying to infiltrate the security service to prevent fraud from being flagged to its clients. The company says its software blocked more than 914,000 fraud attempts and saw almost 10,000 carrier users from 75 countries trying to gain unauthorized access to its platform last year. Hackers the company believes wanted to steal the identity of legitimate motor carriers. Most of those attempted hacks generating from 6 countries: Mexico, Pakistan, India, Uzbekistan, Serbia, and Moldova.
What makes this difficult is we see both legitimate and fraudulent attempts coming out of the same country. But Pakistan has been an area, a hotbed of fraudulent activity over the last 24 months. And what makes that challenging is there's large carriers, large companies that have large presences in Pakistan that's operating legitimately. But we see a lot of fraudulent attempts coming out of there.
Highway alerts its customers if there's a change, for example, to a company's phone number, email, or address on the U.S. government's Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration site where carriers register.
How easy is it for a bad actor to change information on a government website?
If they can gain access to the carrier's information, if they can get control of the carrier's email inbox, or they can fish the carrier into sharing a code with them, then they can change that information. So they're doing it thousands of times a month, so it's relatively easy.
He says the government website needs to do a better job to protect carriers.
I think are doing the best that they can. You're asking a under-resourced government agency whose mandate is motor carrier safety to try and attempt to fight a cyber crime attack on behalf of an entire industry. And even in banking, which is much more regulated than brokers, the regulators don't provide fraud protection for banks. It's up to the banks to provide that for themselves.
In a statement to CNBC, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration says it continuously introduces security enhancements and upgrades, and recent initiatives include multi-factor authentication across all FMCSA systems and strengthening security protocols. It's also developing a modernized registration system to fight fraud.
How resilient are the illegitimate actors? Meaning, if you've stopped them in their tracks once, do they just get right back up and try it again?
No, they don't even wait to go to bed that night. They're trying something new already that day. Absolutely.
Graft shows us on Highway's online platform how its software detects those phishing attacks.
Here's an example of an email phishing campaign where someone's trying to email as freightbull.com, but they've changed the I to an L. And if you didn't have the Outlook plugin for Highway running, you wouldn't be able to detect it.
And this is the detection right here.
That's it.
On the right.
The software, using that Outlook plugin, detects fraud during a shipment.
Here's an example of a carrier that has been taken off a load. So they were supposed to pick up a load in Houston yesterday at 2 p.m., but at that time they were 800 miles away in North Kansas.
And your software detected that?
Exactly.
As he's showing us how it works, the system is detecting something suspicious.
So I'm looking right now at the date. This is something that actually you're dealing with right now.
Exactly, yes.
So what's going on?
You have a carrier that only has 2 trucks and is trying to pick up 12 loads today.
That's impossible.
Physically impossible, yeah. So this is a high risk of being strategic cargo theft because they're trying to take so many loads at once in a concentrated time period. So our team is talking to the broker right now, trying to figure out what's going on and whether this carrier should be pulled off the load.
That's unbelievable. I mean, how in the world could they think that they were going to get away with this?
They haven't been tracked like this before. There's been no one monitoring at this level to make sure that they actually had equipment that could make pickup. Before, it just operated on trust. You said you had a truck in Aurora and that you could make it. They would just give them the load.
Back at Overhaul headquarters in Austin, the company is doing its own tracking in real time, just a few feet away from where we're sitting with CEO Barry Conlon.
What's happening in that room back there?
As I say, that's the Jason Bourne aspect of what we do. We do use a lot of technology to provide the outcome we're looking for.
Inside the room are Overhaul's Danny Ramone, Director of Intelligence and Response, and other employees handling cargo security. They're tracking a truck that just left Texas, headed to New York.
Okay, what are we watching? What's happening right now?
So this is a shipment that has had a light and a stop alert, letting us know that the device is getting light at the same time that the shipment is no longer in motion. It's also stopped in a red zone, which is the first 200 miles after departing origin, which is historically one of the riskiest areas for a shipment to stop, because one of the traditional methods of cargo theft is to follow from origin and wait until it stops and then steal it while it's unattended.
Watching 24/7 from Mexico City is a team at Overhaul's Global Operations Security Center, where it's quickly determined that the driver stopped for a legitimate reason.
This really does look like a driver that just decided to stop soon after he departed for whatever reason, likely for fuel or for food or for comfort reasons.
In reaction to the nationwide surge in cargo theft, California Congressman David Valadao is one of the sponsors of bipartisan legislation called the Combating Organized Retail Crime Act, which would create a coordinated law enforcement center in the Department of Homeland Security.
And so what my bill does is it incorporates the FBI and Homeland Security, and it creates a task force that they communicate with one another and to help local law enforcement agencies communicate with my local agencies, but also amongst themselves so that they can be informed of what's going on around the valley, around the district, or even around the country.
So it's information sharing rather than upping enforcement in any way.
On the Senate side, cargo theft was the topic of a hearing in February by the Subcommittee on Surface Transportation, Freight, Pipelines, and Safety. We spoke with Senator Todd Young of Indiana, who chairs the subcommittee.
In this era of increasing permeability of our southern border in particular, we've seen a lot of criminal elements come through, including those who are engaging in cargo theft.
Is that a threat to national security?
It is indeed. This is not only a domestic challenge, this has become a transnational challenge. We've seen cartel activity extending from Colombia and Mexico up through the eastern United States up into Canada. Much of this activity is fueling other criminal activity, from human trafficking to counter narcotics to potentially even terrorism. That's one of the main reasons this needs to be taken seriously at the national level and regarded as one of many national security threats we're facing right now.
The Household Goods Shipping Consumer Protection Act, which is pending legislation, would give the Motor Carrier Safety Administration more enforcement authority. The question remains, as these cargo crimes rise, will all this monitoring and better coordination make a major difference? CBT, a small broker in Oakwood, Georgia, deals mainly with food and beverage. Blair Hudson, son of the founder and then general manager, was in the middle of figuring out an identity theft breach when we arrived. He says the criminals posed as his company to book real shipments and then steal the payment, a pattern we've seen before.
We do know that there were thousands, maybe 3,000 loads posted by these guys within about an hour. The first thing we did is when we realized, we called our posting site and was like, shut our account down, get these postings taken off of everything, even our legitimate postings, until we get this under control. And at that point, then we started putting reports out saying, you know, our account got hacked. As far as the locations, it's different locations. We've seen some loads out of Texas, out of California, out of Miami. We've seen specifically Amazon product that was out of Miami.
Amazon told us it has zero tolerance for cargo theft and that it has referred a number of bad actors to law enforcement, which have resulted in arrests, product seizures, and recoveries in the U.S. and around the world. Hudson shows us some of the fake postings with an altered company email and phone number.
They're not your postings.
And they're not our loads.
And so this is your company.
Yes.
This is not your phone number.
Correct.
But there's a big clue. On one document, a name and a phone number.
We're going to call it. We're going to see what happens.
Hello?
Hi, is Jacob there, please?
How can I help you? He's right now smoking.
My name is Courtney Reagan. I'm a reporter from CNBC. I'm recording this call. I want to ask you about an invoice with your name on it. It says it's from CBT. Are you an employee at CBT?
Yes.
You are an employee at CBT?
Yes.
What are you looking to do?
I want to.
You do. Okay, that went about as expected.
Another mysterious criminal trying to cripple America's supply chain.
Do you think it's going to get worse before it gets better?
I don't know. I hope it gets better. I base my decisions off the data that we take in, but when there's very little risk, but the reward is very high, the return on investment, it's almost 100%. Why would you stop?